governor of the state of New York, the first female governor in the state's history, the first governor from upstate New York in nearly a century, Governor Kathy Hochul. In addition to these firsts, for anyone who admires and appreciates public service, one cannot help but be in awe of this governor's record as a servant of the people. Before taking office as New York's governor on August 24th of this year, Governor Hochul served as the state's lieutenant governor since 2015. During that time, she led New York's economic development efforts, chairing 10 regional economic development councils whose goals were to build upon the strengths of each region to develop individualized, long-term strategic plans. It was during this time and in this context that the Spain-U.S. Chamber of Commerce was privileged to first meet the governor and to admire her commitment to develop a vibrant economy for all of New York. In addition to leading in several other areas, Lieutenant Governor Hochul chaired New York's Task Force on Heroin and Opioid Abuse and Addiction, convening outreach sessions across New York State to hear from experts and community members. She also spearheaded Enough is Enough, a campaign to combat sexual assault on New York's college campuses. Prior to serving as Lieutenant Governor, Governor Hochul served in Congress representing New York's 26th congressional district. She was the first Democrat to represent that district in 40 years, but her tenure in Congress was cut short when she was essentially redistricted out of office in 2014. What really differentiates Governor Hochul from the 56 men who preceded her is that she has more experience in local government than any of them. She was an elected member of the Hamburg Town Board from 1994 to 2007 and the county clerk of Erie County from 2007 to 2011. The town of Hamburg, by the way, is one of many that claim to be where the Hamburg sandwich was invented. It is the most populous of the dozen South towns located below Buffalo, a region that is home to 156,000 residents spread over an area as large as Westchester, where the only NFL stadium in New York is located, and which receives even more snow than the famously blizzard-prone city of Buffalo a few miles north. But the point is that as a member of Hamburg's town board, Governor Hochul was known as the Energizer Bunny, not only for her work ethic, but for the joy she took in interacting with constituents, which became a defining aspect of her political style. Said one former colleague, "I've never seen anyone happier than her shaking hands in a coffee shop, because she wants to hear from people about how the decisions of government is making and affecting their lives." Governor Hochul had a similar reputation as lieutenant governor, regularly undertaking grueling travel schedules to show up at every corner of the state. Looking at her entire career, it is clear that she thrives on this type of leadership. So when she says that she will travel the state to meet New Yorkers, to listen to them, as she said back in August, she means it. Albany now has a governor who, in addition to having to manage a $200 billion budget, is more focused on hearing from everyday New Yorkers than any chief executive in modern history. If this represents a humility and a desire to do good, it truly represents the values by which the governor and her 5 siblings were raised. Her parents instilled in their children a sense of civic responsibility, driving them when they were young into poor neighborhoods in Buffalo to deliver the food, clothing, and furniture that the family had collected. When her daughter was elected to serve in Congress, her mother, Pat Courtney, had this to say: There's a saying that goes, go out in the world and do well, but more importantly, go out in the world and do good. I wanted my children to grow up and be happy and successful, but more importantly, I wanted them to give back to others. Please welcome Mrs. Courtney's daughter, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Well, thank you, Ambassador, for that beautiful introduction. And on behalf of my mother, who I lost 2 months before I became Lieutenant Governor, she would appreciate the sentiment. And I thank all of you for coming here tonight. First of all, you all look fabulous. You may have seen each other mostly on Zoom calls over the last 2 years. And isn't it nice to get out of the pajamas and put on tuxedos and beautiful gowns like this? I was telling, I have a nice gown too. I've just got 6 more events tonight and it wouldn't have been appropriate, but next time perhaps. This is a real honor for me. As governor for the last 100 some days, this is the first international event that I've spoken at. And I've had a long friendship with Ambassador Solomont and had a chance to get to know his wife, Susan. And such an appreciation for what they did representing our country in Spain. But also as the governor of a very diverse state, a state that prides itself on being a center of international commerce and tourism, this is an honor for me to see all of you. And I hope that you feel so welcome here in New York State and New York City, because we want you to feel part of our family and to be a place that you'll want to have business interests and to, yes, financial investments are always great, but also just feel that sense of energy and vibrancy that we're proud of here that you also share in Spain. I've spent time in Spain as a high school student, more time on beaches than in classrooms, but that's okay. It was Costa del Sol. Don't tell my parents. But I love Spain. It is such a beautiful, incredibly rich in culture and history, a place that just exudes a confidence that is so admirable. And Spain was hit so hard during this pandemic, as were many countries. But I see the synergy between Spain and New York in particular, and this sense that the better days do lie ahead. Yes, we've been knocked down. We were hit hard. We lost a lot of people. People lost their livelihoods. And there's been this whole era of uncertainties. Last summer, we thought we were over with this. And then we're told there's new variants, and now restrictions have to come into place. But I want you to know, as the governor of New York, I have 2 main tasks ahead of me. One is to protect the health of the people in my state, and of course the visitors that we welcome. But I also want to protect the health of our economy. And the way we can do that is to get more people vaccinated and get the booster shots and have mask mandates where they refuse to do so. So there no longer have to be any concept of shutdowns, because it crushed our tourism industry. It crushed many businesses. And I don't want to preside over that. I want to preside over the rebirth of New York. And therefore, I want you to know, my friends from Spain, that we are open for all of you, your investments. And we want to know that this is a whole new era of collaboration, where perhaps those of you may have seen there's a little bit of tension between our state capital in Albany and the governor in the past and the mayor in the city of New York. And it doesn't have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. I have a whole different perspective of how government can show what collaboration looks and feels like. And I've worked closely not just with our legislators and our city officials, but across boundaries in faraway places like New Jersey. And before there was just, again, this sense of, I don't know what it was, combativeness or competition. But I have a wonderful relationship with former ambassador to Germany, Phil Murphy, who worked closely with our ambassador Solomont at the time when he served in Spain in the same capacity. So I want you to know that you come here, you invest in New York State, you bring your friends and your families, you'll be part of an economy that is just unleashing its full potential. The last time New York was hit with a major global pandemic was just over 100 years ago. And yes, we are brought down like much of the world, but what happened in the aftermath was the Roaring '20s, a time of great expansion, and businesses were developed and industry prospered all the way up until 29. So if we can forget 1929 and skip to a few years later, but I see that coming. I see this pent-up demand for tourism. People from around the globe are going to want to find their way here. They're going to want to stay in our hotels and come for conventions and enjoy the restaurants. And I also want New Yorkers to go explore Spain again. Let those doors be open, because that's how we benefit, those interpersonal relationships between people and businesses and places. So that's why I'm so proud to welcome all of you here and to honor the individuals, including our ambassador to Spain from the United States, ambassador to the United States, Santiago Cabanas. I want to thank him for his public service. It is not an easy job to leave your family and your familiar belongings and to go to a whole new world and represent your country. It is powerful, it is important, and we honor you and what you bring from the great country of Spain. So thank you, Ambassador, as well. And I also want to thank Tama Cortejo. Is that Cortejo? Cortejo. Thank you for being such an incredible leader of this organization, the Spain-U.S. Chamber. It's individuals like you who make the magic happen. And we'll continue to have a deeper relationship. What I'm going to ask you is one question. You tell me what I can do as governor of New York to deepen this relationship even further. I want to make that happen. I want to make sure that everyone in Spain and our business interests, and those of you who've already made New York your home, feel that you have all the resources you need for your success, because your success will also lead to the collective success of this city and this state, and therefore the country. So enjoy your evening. It looks like wonderful food, and I feel like I've been holding you up from eating it. But thank you. Thank you for being part of the New York State family, and I welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor.